Welcome, everyone, to this meeting of the Government Operations Subcommittee of the Health and Government Operations Committee. We have half a dozen bills, and we welcome your interest and support. We will begin with House Bill 1439. Council.
This bill includes the city of Bowie as a participating jurisdiction in the Maryland Intrastate Emergency Management Assistance Compact. This bill is actually both House Bill 1439 and its identical cross-file Senate Bill 932. There are no amendments on either bill, and I circulated some information to the subcommittee received from the Maryland Department of Emergency Management on recent use of this compact, just to give everyone an idea of sort of how that's been used. Some examples were, I don't know if folks recall, I actually live in Baltimore City, so I recall this. There were some firefighters killed on the line of duty, and a number of jurisdictions, firefighters covered for Baltimore City firefighters so that they could all attend that funeral for their fallen comrades earlier this year. And so that's an example of when this compact has been used recently.
Well, that's when the floor fell in and they were, I believe, injured and died because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I understand. All right, is there a motion on, we'll take the two bills separately. Motion on House Bill 1439.
To approve.
Moved. Is there any
Second.
Any discussion? There is a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the Senate cross-file, SB 932. Is there a motion?
Move the bill.
Second.
And there is a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, both are unanimous. Senate Bill 9. Council.
This bill requires the Maryland Department of Transportation to study options for streamlining the certification process for minority business enterprises. It also requires specified state entities to provide, as originally drafted, within 60 days, information requested by MDOT to assess the need for remedial measures. Each entity must require licensees, pre-approved licensees, applicants, grantees, or other program participants to provide any information deemed necessary within 60 days of the request. I circulated amendments to the subcommittee on this, which were drafted in conjunction with MDOT and the Office of the Attorney General. The amendments make the requirement to provide certain information applicable to DGS
When it came in,
with respect to projects in a certain capital grant program for which minority business enterprise sub-goals for the capital project have been established. Require an entity to provide the information to MDOT within 75 days of a request. This is to align the time period requirements that are otherwise set out for the entity to actually make a request, then receive that information back, and then in turn provide that information to MDOT, just to make that time actually enough to actually do all those steps. And then also clarify that the need for remedial measures refers to the implementation of a program that would be to support businesses that are owned by minorities or women. Just to clarify what's meant by remedial measures with regard to this piece.
Is there any discussion or questions regarding these amendments? Delegate Hill.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Lindsay. I'm looking at the amendments and there was a lot taken out, right? So you talked about what was added. Can you just, I'm not clear. These are our amendments on the bill, came over clean from the Senate, or?
No, I'm sorry. I guess I wasn't very clear. The Senate amended the bill originally. These amendments are just clarifying those Senate amendments. So they added this requirement, which originally I believe came from the Office of the Attorney General, the requirement for entities to provide this information to MDOT. The idea is these industries have MBE requirements associated with them, and MDOT's not getting the information that it needs. So it's to require them to actually gather the information from the folks in that those respective industries, then pass that along to MDOT. That this would be either for inclusion in the disparity study that already happens now with the MBE program, or it might be a supplemental study depending on the timing of the disparity study.
Okay, so we're basically accepting the amendments that the Senate put on it to vote, because there's no crossfire. We haven't acted on this bill in any way.
Right, we have not.
Okay, thank you. Move the amendment.
Amendments are moved, and is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. Is there any further discussion on the amendments? Hearing none, is there a motion to move the bill with the amendments? Is there a motion on the amendments? All those in favor, excuse me, of the amendments, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It is unanimous. I need a motion on the bill as amended. Thank you.
Move the bill's amendments.
Second.
And seconded. All those in favor of the bill as amended, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It is unanimous. Okay, the next bill is Senate Bill 250. Council?
As it came over from the Senate, this bill makes interest on unpaid invoices under state procurement contracts due and payable after 30 days from when the agency receives an invoice, requires the Department of Legislative Services to conduct a study and report on the processing and timing of payments to contractors under state procurement contracts, and also requires the Department of Information Technology to consult with specified agencies and report on the status of the comptroller's online payment portal and the planned upgrade to the state's financial management information system and related issues. The bill expresses legislative intent that any upgrade to FEMAS include goals to significantly reduce the amount of time in which payments are processed. And the bill generally takes effect July 1st, 2022, but the provision relating to the accrual and payment of interest on unpaid invoices takes effect June 1st, 2023. So what this bill is very similar, but a little bit different from, House Bill 325, the cross file that you all acted on earlier in session. The difference is that time period on the invoices, the House acted to make that 37 days, down from 45, but higher than the Senate's 30 days. And then the Senate also added this additional reporting from due it and intent related to FEMAS. I've circulated amendments on the bill that make the interest on unpaid invoices due and payable after 37 days. So that aligns the bill to House Bill 325. Keeps the language on the report from due it, but clarifies the report date from due it. The Senate had listed this with two different reporting dates for the same report. So it just makes that one reporting date on December 1st. And the Senate has already amended House Bill 325. B&T has already amended that to match what this amendment that I circulated to you all does.
Okay.
So if
Move
I
the
may
amendment.
hopefully correctly summarize, the House bill, this amendment that is the one amendment, well, the HGO amendments that are before us, if we were to adopt them, then the two bills would be conformed, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's move the amendment.
Second.
All those in favor of the amendment say aye. Anyone opposed? The ayes have it. Is there a motion to move the bill as amended?
Moved as amended.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? No one is opposed. Okay, we will now move on to Senate Bill 373.
This bill is the cross file of House Bill 163. As amended by the Senate, it's an emergency bill. It specifies that when the State Highway Administration, the Maryland Transit Administration, or an agent, employee, or consultant thereof gives or posts specified notice of entry onto private property to conduct environmental and engineering studies, that the SHA or MTA must send a copy of the notice to the General Assembly members who represent the legislative district in which the property is located. This is different than how you all acted on House Bill 163. If you recall, that had language in the Public Information Act about the definition of distribution list, how it applies, specified definition of sociological information, and then you had information about if someone requests a list and it's been redacted because someone has received this notice and opted out of the list, then the custodian would provide notice. So all of that information on the Public Information Act is struck from this bill, and it's just this notice to the General Assembly representatives of that property. During the bill hearing on this bill, the sponsor of the cross-file, Delegate Carr, was asked how he felt about the Senate changes to this, and he said that he was comfortable with the Senate actions on this bill on the Senate side, and the Senate has already amended the cross-file to match what you see before you here on Senate Bill 373. We have that concurrence to vote later today in our voting session.
So what you're saying is that this bill as SB 373 is in conformity with the amended House Bill 163, and the sponsor, Delegate Carr, the sponsor of 163, does not oppose the bill, the two bills as they now sit. Is that
Yes.
correct? Thank you.
That is correct.
Thank you. Delegate Chisholm.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see that we have somebody on from MDOT, and they had a letter of information in, and I'm just curious if the amendment satisfies any of their concerns.
Important question.
Hi, Pilar
Ms. Helm.
Helm. Yep, from
Hi.
MDOT.
Oh, sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
go ahead.
we're okay with the version of as amended 373 and the crossfile 163.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Certainly. Important question. We appreciate MDOT being here. Delegate Hill.
Yeah, so Lindsay, you see, so this is the bill we worked really, really hard on to make really, really good. And the Senate has said, nah, don't worry about it. And the sponsor's okay. So we're just, so we can move the amendments and just forget about all our diligent work in the name of getting a product through that works well enough. Okay, thank you.
If I may, I believe the Latin expression for that is "c'est la vie."
We'll move the amendment.
And if the sponsors, yeah, whatever.
Second.
I gotta laugh. Huh?
Oh, there's no
Okay.
amendment. There's no amendment. I just described
Okay.
the way the
You were
Senate had
explaining.
amended the bill. So there's no
Correct.
amendment
So
on
move the
that.
bill as the Senate has sent it to us.
Second.
No objection. Okay, all those in favor of the bill as it sits before us, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Senate Bill 644.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, what did I miss?
You missed a lot of unanimous votes. We did not, however, we have skipped 1105 because we wanted to have a bigger house in attendance for that. So we've done the next four bills, and now we're doing SB 644. If you
Okay,
have your agenda in front of you.
I do. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Council, SB 644.
This is another bill that did not have a cross-file, so this is the first time you're considering it. It requires the Department of General Services, in consultation with the Governor's Office of Small, Minority, and Women Business Affairs, to study the feasibility and impacts of establishing a state procurement percentage preference for businesses located in historically underutilized business zones. By December 1st, 2022, DGS must report its findings and recommendations to the General Assembly. And there are no amendments on this one.
Any discussion? Okay, is there a motion for favorable?
Move favor. Second.
Second, all those in favor say aye. Anybody opposed? No. Okay, we are now back to the beginning, to House Bill 1105, which may be giving Delegate Carr's bill a run for its money in terms of the amount of times it's been on the agenda.
The
But
difference is that his actually got across, this one won't get across in time to.
Okay. Council,
So this bill was in the subcommittee last week and actually was on the full committee voting list last week as well and was held. Delegate Hill submitted some additional amendments, which I circulated to everyone, which were enough that the chair felt the subcommittee should discuss it again before it goes back to full committee voting session. In the reprint at the top of page 7 of the amendments, you'll see the Delegate Hill has suggested striking the language that requires that 911 operators be paid, compensated in an amount that
Okay.
exceeds the minimum wage. And then moving on to,
If I may, just to make clear, since I don't have those amendments in front of my phone, Delegate Hill's amendment is reflected by striking the minimum wage language.
yeah, so the
Her
original,
amendment would strike that from the bill.
yeah, the original bill would have required that each jurisdiction, it was worded as employing 911 specialists shall appropriately classify 911 specialists as first responders and then compensate 911 specialists in a manner that exceeds the minimum wage. So that language about exceeding the minimum wage is struck, which
And I
will
believe,
just compensate them as appropriate.
right, and I believe this language addresses the concern that prompted the bill to be removed from the voting list.
I can't speak to that.
Okay,
I don't know.
fine. Thank you. Sure, sure.
And
Okay,
then
I
the,
interrupted.
no, it's fine. The additional change is on the unnumbered pages that the 2 pages that follow page 8 of 12 in the reprint. You all had adopted language relating to a study, or excuse me, report from the 911 board on certain information. And this has been tweaked just a little bit. And one thing I forgot to add in, and so it was not circulated in your version, but I have fixed it, Delegate Hill, in case you're wondering where this went, in paragraph Roman numeral 3 under paragraph 3 for the annual reports that are submitted in 2022 through 2027, that this should include any measures recommended or implemented. So I forgot to add that recommended or, but I have, it's going to be in the final version of that. And further down at the very bottom of this,
Oh, I see. Okay,
yep. So it just said any measures implemented. So add
correct.
recommended or implemented. And then a new subsection C here would require the department to summarize and analyze the information that's provided by the 911 board and report that all to the General Assembly as well. So that, or excuse me, to the committees of jurisdiction, so that that information, rather than raw data, would actually be synthesized in some way for your benefit.
Is there discussion on the amendments? Sorry, Delegate Chisholm.
Well, maybe it's not on the amendments. It might still be in the same bill, but when you made the statement earlier that that was the concern, I think the concern was on the fee. Are we on the right bill?
This bill, I think you are, pretty sure.
Okay,
Go ahead.
Yeah, this bill also has an element that there's a county 911 fee that's imposed, that the set fee is 75 cents. If that's not enough to cover the operational expenses for the county and operating their 911 system, current statute allows them to increase it for the following fiscal year to $1.50. This bill removes that $1.50 cap and says that they can raise it to an amount that's necessary to cover the operational expenses of running 911.
And
This
if I may,
amendment
Mr.
has
Chair,
nothing to do with that at this point, so we can move the amendment, and then when it gets to the bill as amended, then we can speak about it, I believe. Am I
Mr.
correct?
Chair,
Yeah. We did move the bill with that language before, but we'll
Correct.
allow it to be amended, to be discussed again briefly. Delegate Hill?
yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. So Delegate Chisholm, to your point, the reason, as I understand, and I can't speak for the chair, but in my discussions with the chair, the reason the bill was held from the last voting session is that in the discussion about the various components during voting session, the fact that we were reclassifying 911 specialists as first responders became clear to the chair. And she was concerned that that might have additional implications that had not been looked at. So subsequently, we looked at it. We actually made reference to Delegate Kipke's bill, which in multiple parts of Comar and statute reclassified them as 911 specialists. There was a fiscal note that spoke to the fact that that did not create an additional fiscal burden by doing so, and that it was sort of a corrective measure to, out of respect for the work they do, it might in fact tee up for some,
Whoever is on the phone, please.
right, might in
Right.
fact tee up for some future legislation. And there is indeed some legislation that's in another committee that will not pass this year. But when, after going through that and being assured that what we were doing here was not going to cause significant, unexpected, or unexamined repercussions for the state, the chair was comfortable. I asked whether we needed to revisit the language about locals. The chair said that she was comfortable that the subcommittee had looked at that and had already voted on that. The language about the study, when the subcommittee last spoke, we had agreed to the study in principle. And the language we have now is slightly different than the language that was presented on the study at the voting session. So you're right about the issues we discussed, but it did not come back because of the local authority to raise the fees, if that's helpful.
Yes, thank you.
Any further discussion on the bill as it is now before us? Delegate Kaiser. You're muted.
Yes, I sure am. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Delegate Hill. And my understanding with the fees, it leaves it to the local jurisdiction. So we're giving the locals the decision-making authority. So we're giving them more control here.
We're giving them more control, and because of the study language,
Right.
we're making sure that that we are able to look at jurisdictions that are having a hard time meeting those financial obligations and requiring that MDEM, the Maryland Department of Emergency Medicine, and the 911 board are looking at working with them and trying to come up with solutions that hopefully.
Delegate Hill?
Yep.
You had me at hello. I was just confirming the local control
Okay.
part.
Hello. I
And
know
thank
you always
you.
think I talk too much, but once you get me started.
Okay. Do we need to vote on these amendments? I believe these are different amendments. Yes. Is there a motion on the amendments?
Please
Move the
move the
amendment.
amendments. Thank you.
Is there any objection to the amendments? Is there a motion on the bill as amended?
Move the
No, we
bill.
gotta vote.
Second,
Oh,
We have to vote on the amendments.
There was no objection. I asked, there was no objection. Okay. All those in favor of the bill as amended, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. It is
No.
unanimous.
No, you
Oh,
missed
sorry,
me.
I'm sorry.
a no.
I was getting into a groove there from everything else. Understood.
And just to clarify, this is House Bill 1105. We've got the same vote for Senate Bill 633. We make the two bills identical.
And to be clear, these bills still include no cap on the fee.
Yes.
Okay, I'm against.
Vote is 7-2 in favor. All right, our business, I believe, is done. The full committee is voting at 4:30. And we
And
are
Public
adjourned.
Health is meeting in a half hour.
Half hour. Okay, thank you. You have good sources.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you,
you.
especially Delegate Hill. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay.